Hello student, welcome to back myself Sri K. D. Borse sir, biology subject teacher. In previous lecture we learned control and coordination chapter content concept, types of synapses. In that we learn electrical synapse and chemical synapse. Today we learn some more concept including control and coordination chapter, transmission of nerve impulse, how transmission of nerve impulse in the nerve cell. Also we learn generation of nerve impulse in the nerve cell. So let us start first concept, transmission of nerve impulse. Nerve impulse is a wave of bioelectrical or electrochemical changes passing through the membrane of neuron. Number one, first, transmission of nerve impulse passing along whole length of the nerve fiber. You know, nerve fibers are present in axon bundle. So axon bundle contain nerve fiber, whole length transmission of impulse from one location to another location. Each neuron has a charged cellular membrane. Each neuron has a charged cellular membrane with voltage is different. On outer and inner side. For example, this axon part is broadly seen here. Inside it means inside the axon negative ions are present, while outside the axon positive ions are present. So voltage is different on outer and inner side of the axon in each neuron. Point number 3, the plasma membrane separate the outer and inner solution of different chemical compounds. Plasma membrane separate outer and inner solution of different chemical compounds, but having approximately the same total number of ions. You know, plasma membrane present in our axon, inside it and outside means outer and inner solution contain chemical compounds having approximately same total number of ions. Point number 4, diagrammatic representation here. Extracellular fluid present outside the axon, intracellular fluid present inside the axon. ECF, extracellular fluid present outside the axon, contain sodium, potassium ions, while intracellular fluid contain also sodium, potassium ions, but at polarized state of neuron, intracellular and extracellular fluid contain ions are differentiation percentage like number 4. The extracellular tissue fluid has both sodium and potassium ions. Extracellular fluid has more positive charges. Seen here, extracellular fluid, more positive charges because more sodium ions and less potassium ions. Why extracellular fluid has more positive charges? Because more sodium ions and less potassium ions present in extracellular fluid, while intracellular neoplasm has negative charges because presence of negatively charged protein. Here inside it negatively charged protein is present inside the axon, so intracellular neoplasm has negative charges while extracellular fluid has more positive charges because more sodium ions and less potassium ions present in outside. Always remember, extracellular fluid present outer surface, intracellular fluid present inner surface. Number 5, intracellular neoplasm has negative charges because present negatively charged protein but also contain more potassium ions and less sodium ions. More potassium ions and less sodium ions. Here noted high potassium present inside the axon, high sodium ions present extracellular fluid. Now point number 7, the differences in distribution of sodium and potassium ions on both side membrane produce potential differences of -70 millivolt. The differences distribution of sodium and potassium ions on both side membrane produce potential differences about -70 millivolt, and this condition means -70 millivolt is resting nerve, is also called as polarized state of the neuron. Means resting nerve or polarized state of neuron, in that potential differences is about -70 millivolt because distribution of sodium and potassium ions on both surface are differences. Seen here diagrammatic representation, sodium ion present outside the membrane more in number as compared to potassium, while potassium ions are more in number inside the axon as compared to sodium ions. So this is the different distribution of sodium and potassium ion on both sides of the membrane produce potential differences -70 millivolt, and this is the resting nerve or polarized state. Seen here polarized condition or membrane. Number 9, the resting potential -70 millivolt mainly due to permeability of membrane. Due to permeability of membrane, more permeable to potassium than the sodium. More permeable to potassium than the sodium. 10 number point, more potassium diffuse out and less sodium diffuse in, causing slight different in polarity, slight different in polarity for attending a resting state. Always remember, more potassium diffuse out and less sodium diffuse in, causing slight different polarity for attending resting state. Point number 11, the nerve membrane has voltage gated channel. Nerve membrane has voltage gated channels seen here. Sodium ion gate channel, potassium ion gate channel. So these two ion gate channel introduce sodium ion inside the axon, introduce potassium ion inside the axon. Seen here, sodium gate, potassium gate are voltage gated channel present on nerve membrane. Seen here, sodium gated channel introduce sodium ions from outside to inside, seen here. So sodium voltage channel. This one is potassium voltage channel. Potassium ions transfer from inside to outside. So this is the potassium voltage channel, and this one is sodium voltage channel. So presence of sodium voltage channel and potassium voltage channel on nerve membrane, present potassium and sodium channel on nerve membrane, to changes the polarity for conduction and transmission of nerve impulse. These channels are specially for sodium ion introduced while potassium ion expelled from inside to outside. Due to this, change the polarity for conduction of transmission of the impulse. 13 number, transport sodium and potassium ions separately through channels. You know, sodium gate channel is separate, potassium gate channel is separate. So due to separate channel, transport sodium and potassium ions separately. 14 number, during resting stage both these channels, during resting stage both these channel gates are closed, means sodium channel gate is also closed and potassium channel gate is also closed. So resting potential is maintained. How resting potential maintained? When sodium voltage channel and potassium voltage channel, both channel gates are closed, so resting potential is maintained. Up to this we detail discuss how resting potential is maintained. Now we learn generation of nerve impulse. How nerve impulse generation takes place. Generation of impulse seen in 3 steps. Number 1, resting state, second, depolarization, and fourth, repolarization. We learn one by one. What is resting state? Resting state means the nerve fiber is not transmitting any stimulus or nerve impulse. Nerve fiber is not transmitting any stimulus or nerve impulse. Such state of neuron called as resting state. Means during the resting state, neuron not transmitting any stimulus or nerve impulse. जेव्हा कोणताही नर्व फायबर रेस्टिंग स्टेट मध्ये असतो तेव्हा त्या नर्व फायबर मधून कोणताही स्टिम्युलस ट्रान्समिशन होत नाही, इम्पल्स ट्रान्समिशन होत नाही. So this stage of neuron or nerve called as resting state. Seen here, polarized membrane is resting state, and during this stage some events are seen high sodium ions present in extracellular fluid, while high potassium ions present in intracellular fluid of the nerve fiber. During resting state, the events takes place like number 1, sodium and potassium channel. Also, sodium and potassium pump are closed. During resting state, sodium and potassium channel, also sodium potassium pump are closed. This is the first event during the resting state. Second, sodium ions are more in extracellular fluid, while potassium ions are less in extracellular fluid. So this is the second event during the resting state. And third event during the resting state is potassium ions are more in intracellular fluid, while less sodium ions in intracellular fluid. So here noted 3 different events during the resting state. How resting state takes place, what is resting state, what are the events of resting state. Hope that you understood everything. Now we learn depolarization. What is depolarization? Nerve fiber receiving transmitting impulse or nerve impulse, such state of neuron called as depolarization. Depolarization means nerve fiber receiving transmitting stimulus or nerve impulse, such state of neuron called as depolarization. Means in depolarization, nerve fiber receive and transmitting stimulus. Resting state, nerve fiber not receive transmitting the stimulus, but in depolarization, nerve fiber receive and transmitting stimulus. Seen here, this is the nerve fiber. Stimulus receive the nerve fiber. Due to this, depolarization process takes place, and in depolarization, number 1, only sodium channel are open. What are the event of depolarization? Only sodium channel are open, and due to this, sodium ions are introduced from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid. Second, potassium channel and sodium potassium pump are closed during the depolarization. Means during the depolarization, only sodium channel are open. Potassium channel and sodium potassium pump are closed during the depolarization. Number 3, sodium are move inside the intracellular fluid than the potassium ions. Sodium are less in extracellular fluid than the potassium ions. Such condition seen during the depolarization, and due to depolarization, impulse transmission from one location to other locations. In here, positive ions means sodium ions are introduced from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid. So due to this, depolarization process takes place, and due to depolarization process takes place, transmitting the impulse or stimulus from one location to other location. Here noted all these are the different event during the depolarization. Seen here, during depolarization, sodium ion is enter from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid, and due to this the intracellular fluid contains sodium ions are more in number than the potassium ions. Up to this we detail discuss. Depolarization is most important for receiving and transmitting stimulus or nerve impulse. Now we learn repolarization. What is repolarization? Repolarization means nerve fiber entering in polarized state again. Nerve fiber entering in polarized state again. परत एकदा polarized state मध्ये nerve fiber जातो. Such condition called as repolarization. Repolarization state after a short interval called as refractory period. Repolarization takes place after a short interval called as refractory period, called as repolarization. Means nerve fiber entering in polarized state again after the short interval called as refractory period, called as repolarization. During repolarization only potassium channel are open. During repolarization only potassium channels are open. Seen here, potassium channel open. Due to this, potassium ions transfer from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid, and due to this repolarization process takes place. What is refractory period? You know, repolarization takes place after short interval called as refractory period. So what is refractory period? In this period, means refractory period, the sodium and potassium ions are actively restored. Sodium and potassium ions are actively restored in appropriate site by sodium potassium pump. What is refractory period? In this period, sodium and potassium ions are actively restored in their appropriate site by sodium potassium pump. Means with the help of sodium potassium pump, sodium and potassium ions are actively restored in their appropriate site. Means sodium ions are more in number in extracellular fluid, while potassium ions are more in number intracellular fluid. Due to this, nerve fiber entering polarized state again. Only sodium and potassium pump is open. Due to this, sodium potassium ions are actively restored in their appropriate site. Seen here, sodium potassium pump is open. Due to this, ATP is utilized to pump sodium ions from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid, while potassium ions pump from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid. Due to this, the nerve fiber entering polarized state again. Up to this we detail discuss repolarization, and refractory period is also, and how generate impulse in the nerve or neuron cells. Now we learn how impulse transmission in modulated nerve. How impulse transmission in modulated nerve, you know, modulated nerve and non-modulated nerve are different from one another. In modulated nerve, myelin sheath are present on axon membrane, while non-modulated nerve myelin sheath are absent in axon membrane of the neuron. In modulated nerve, the insulating fatty myelin sheath prevent flow of ions between the exoplasm and extracellular fluid. You know, modulated nerve present myelin sheath. Such myelin sheath is made by fatty substance. So fatty myelin sheath insulating covering is present on modulated nerve that prevent flow of ions between the exoplasm and extracellular fluid. Seen here, this is the neuron or nerve cell, and this part is axon. You know, when it modulated nerve on axon membrane present myelin sheath that make the fatty substance, and such myelin sheath is prevent flow of ions between exoplasm and extracellular fluid. Seen here a diagrammatic representation. Myelin sheath present on axon. So this is the myelin sheath present on axon. This one is also myelin sheath. This one is also myelin sheath. In between two myelin sheath membrane, node of Ranvier seen. So this node of Ranvier, in between two myelin sheaths present node of Ranvier. So this is the node of Ranvier. This also node of Ranvier. In that present depolarized membrane of resting potential is also seen in node of Ranvier region of modulated nerve, and due to this the channel gate and transport pump can operate only in region of node of Ranvier, because myelin sheath is prevent flow of ions between the exoplasm and extracellular fluid. So in the myelin sheath region of axon, not ions are exchange takes place from exoplasm to extracellular fluid, but the channel gate and transport pump can operate only the region of node of Ranvier. So this region is node of Ranvier. This region is also node of Ranvier, because myelin sheath is absent in node of Ranvier. Means depolarization process takes place only in node of Ranvier. So depolarization occurs only node of Ranvier regions. Up to this we detail discuss how impulse transmission in medulated nerve. Now we learn what is saltatory conduction. What is saltatory conduction? Nerve impulse jump from node to node. Nerve impulse jump from node to node. Such process called as saltatory conduction. Always remember what is saltatory conduction. Nerve impulse jump from node to node. Such process called as saltatory conduction. Seen here, axon part of the neuron, and this is the medulated nerve fiber, myelin sheath region. This is also myelin sheath region, and this is also myelin sheath region. In between them, some short region are called as node of Ranvier. This node of Ranvier is maintain depolarization, and due to this, nerve impulse jump from one node of Ranvier to other node of Ranvier, and such movement called as saltatory conduction of nerve impulse. Saltatory conduction nerve impulse rate is about 120 meter per second. 120 per meter per second. So this is the faster conduction than the continuous conduction like non-medulated fiber. Means medulated nerve fiber conduct faster nerve impulses about 120 meter per second as compared to non-medulated nerve fiber. Up to this we detail discuss what is saltatory conduction, what is the rate of saltatory conduction of nerve transmission 120 meter per second, and which nerve fiber conduct faster rate of nerve impulse. No doubt medulatory nerve conduct faster rate of nerve impulse than the non-medulatory nerve fiber. Up to this we detail discuss the nerve transmission and generation of nerve. Always remember the resting potential of axon is minus 70 millivolt. Resting potential of axon is minus 70 millivolt. Sodium and potassium pumps, 3 sodium ions pump out and 2 potassium ions pump in the axon. Review today's topic. Today we learn transmission of nerve impulse. Also we learn generation of nerve impulse, how impulse transmission in medulated nerve. Also we detail discuss what is saltatory conduction. On the basis of today's lecture, some exercise question noted here. MCQ question number 1. Nerve fiber is not transmitting any stimulus or nerve impulse. Such state of neuron called as resting state, depolarization, repolarization, all of this. Yes, the correct answer is resting state. During this, nerve fiber not transmitting any stimulus or nerve impulse. MCQ number 2. During depolarization, only sodium channels are open. Potassium channel and sodium potassium pump are closed. Sodium are more inside the intracellular fluid than the potassium. all of this. Yes, the correct answer, all of this, because during repolarization here noted all these ABC events takes place. So all of this is correct answer. Exoplasm have polarized high potassium ions, low sodium ions, negatively charged protein, all of this. Yes, the correct answer is exoplasm have polarized at that condition high potassium ions present in exoplasm, also low sodium ions present in exoplasm, and negatively charged protein present in exoplasm. So correct answer is D, all of this. Short answer question. What is saltatory conduction? Yes, nerve impulse transmission from one node to other node of Ranvier. Such conduction called as saltatory conduction. Why medullary nerve depolarization occurs only node of Ranvier region? Yes, because node of Ranvier region depolarization takes place, means polarized state is present only node region, while myelin sheath region of axon is prevent ion exchange. So medullary nerve depolarization occurs only node region. Saltatory conduction rate is about 120 meter per second. In which period the sodium and potassium ions are actively restored in their appropriate site by sodium potassium pump? Yes, refractory period. During this, sodium and potassium ions are actively restored in their appropriate site with the help of sodium potassium pump. Match the column A with column B. In column A, refractory period. Yes, refractory period. During this, only sodium potassium pump is open, means one match with C. Depolarization, yes, during depolarization only sodium channel are open, means two match with A. Resting state, yes, resting state means during this resting state sodium and potassium channel, also sodium potassium pump are closed, means 3 match with D. Repolarization, yes, during repolarization only potassium channel are open, means 4 match with B. Up to this, today's lecture completed. Hope that you understood everything. If you like the video, then you can subscribe my YouTube Bioinfo channel. Tap the bell icon and like the video. If any doubt about today's lecture, mention in comment box. Thank you.